like um you're like when you have a plan of reaching a goal or achieving a goal, and a lot of the time you kind of expect it to be a straight line, right? It's like a graphic of riding a bike up a hill, and you think it's just going to be a straight line, but the reality is that there's valleys, there's mountains, there's storms, there's big bodies of water to cross. There's all these challenges, and the journey to get to where you want to go it doesn't look anything like what you expect it to look like or what would be easy. And that's especially true with baseball. Your career is going to be filled with tons and tons of adversity. It's going to be filled with a lot of failure. It's going to have a lot of highs and it's going to have a lot of lows. And again, just embracing that and accepting it right from the beginning is extremely important. So just to kind of highlight a few of my, highs and lows throughout my career. Um, I was never a standout athlete at all as a kid or even into high school. I was pretty small for my age. Didn't really grow into my body until like my senior year of high school, and so I was kind of always overlooked. In little league and even at your guys' age, I was the player who the coach stuck me out in right field at the end of a game just to get me in the game, but I was never like the ace of the team or the three-hole hitter or anything like that. Um, I didn't play varsity baseball until my junior year. Again, I was not any sort of standout athlete, but um, I did, once I kind of started taking it seriously in high school, I had some pretty special moments in high school. I threw a no-hitter, kind of was a part of some big wins, but also had some bad moments too. I I made the very last out of our playoff game my senior year of high school. I had some games where I couldn't make it out of the first inning. A lot of highs and a lot of lows. Moving on to college, I didn't get any Division I offers. The only team that or the only school that recruited me at all was Olivet Nazarene University in Bourbonnais, Illinois, if you guys are familiar with them. But they're an NAIA school, real small school. Didn't I never had any sort of attention or offers from the big schools that a lot of kids think they have to go play at. Um, and in college, I had, some mixed results too. A lot of good games and a lot of bad games. I ended up getting drafted in the 22nd round, which, it's awesome to get drafted. I was drafted by the Cleveland Guardians, by the way, but as a 22nd rounder, you don't really have a whole lot of, the odds are kind of stacked in your favor to ever make it to the major leagues. And I had coaches tell me straight up, like, you're just a filler, you're not really a prospect. You're here just to pitch innings to the prospects, to the guys who did get a lot of money and who are more of a priority than you. Um, that didn't let that stop me, didn't let it affect me. I just kind of stuck to my process. And here we are 10 years later, and I've played for 7 MLB organizations, pitched in the big leagues for 2 of them, but I've been released 4 times. I've been traded. I've been sent up and down between AAA and the major leagues way more times than I can even remember. I've given up walk-off home runs. I've hit guys in embarrassing situations. I was ejected from an MLB game for hitting a guy unintentionally, but they thought it was intentionally. Um, it I kind of struggled with, borderline the yips for a while last year, or I guess 2 years ago now. I couldn't throw a strike to save my life. And the reason I'm telling you guys all this is because that's normal. Like somebody I've played baseball my entire life. I've accomplished all my goals and my dreams in baseball, but my journey has been filled with failure. And so I just want you guys to really understand that, like, you are going to fail a lot in this game, and that's okay. That should not stop you at all. That should be, you should use that as motivation to continue to get better and use it to learn. Okay, um, so one sort of specific I guess mental skill that I kind of want to talk about is having the type of mindset that you have. And this so when I was drafted by Cleveland, we had a team sports mental skills coach give us this presentation, talk about this, and I'll never forget it. And she talked about the two mindsets that you can have, which are a process driven mindset or a results driven mindset. Okay, so let's kind of go over some of the differences between a process driven mindset or a results driven mindset. Um, so, a player with a process driven mindset develops habits that help them reach their goals, right? Habits are what you do every day. So, waking up early enough to eat a good breakfast, going to sleep at a reasonable time so your body can recover, showing up to practice with a good attitude, getting in 100 extra swings in the cage, all these small habits that you start to add up over a period of, years, and those are the things that help you reach your goals. Process driven mindset has a very long term view for defining success. You're not measuring whether you're successful or not based on any one individual game or even an individual season. Um, you view failure as a learning opportunity. So going back to what I just said, you're going to fail a lot, and the way that you respond to that failure is going to determine how you develop as a player over the long run. So you have to view failure as an opportunity to learn what did you do wrong and why, what sort of adjustments need to be made. That's how you should view failure. A player with a process driven mindset never gets too high or too low. I'm sure you guys, and I know I have at times, you kind of ride the roller coaster of emotions, right? You have a really good game, you're on top of the world, you're feeling good about yourself, and then you have a terrible game and you're down in the dumps. Well, if you have a process driven mindset, you're pretty even keeled. You have the same sort of demeanor every game, no matter how it goes. Um, a process driven mindset is always looking for ways to improve. You're kind of I used to spend a lot of time researching like pitching mechanics or exercises in the weight room to get better for pitchers. You're kind of there's a lot of resources out there on the internet where you can learn things. You can learn from people who have done it, who know a lot more than you, and you're just kind of always seeking out like what's next, what can I learn that's going to help me, and you're just always looking for something new to add to your development. um, this is a big one. A player with a process-driven mindset gets excited for their teammates' success, and they make the players around them better. Okay, you're you're excited for your teammates because their success doesn't make you look worse or anything. It's just that you love to be surrounded with other players who are succeeding and reaching their goals. And just I want to just highlight the importance of being a good teammate. Like, and you guys probably all know, you've played, whether it's this team or a different team, you've had kids who are have a bad attitude and kind of drag down the whole team. And you know how draining that can be, like that, and that really just kills the entire team. That kills the energy of the team. um, so having a process driven mindset is makes you care more about the players around you. And having a process driven mindset will make you enjoy practicing, doing the boring things, paying attention to detail, all these things that, it's maybe not the most exciting stuff, but it's the stuff that adds up over a long period of time. And here's a big one. You view results in the game as a byproduct of preparation. So, maybe some of you might think like, the way that I perform in the game is just because I'm just not that good. I don't have the natural talent, or I just got lucky, or I got unlucky, or the umpire screwed me, or that the pitcher on the other team was just way better than me, like any of these things that are outside of your control. But when you have that process driven mindset, you understand that whether you succeed or fail in a game is a byproduct of the amount of work that you've put in. All right, let's talk about the other mindset now. Okay, so all of that I just talked about was the process driven mindset. Okay, so your mindset is on the process of getting better, the process of developing. Okay, so the other side of that coin is a results driven mindset. Okay, so a player with a results driven mindset has a short-sighted measure of success. You're up and down depending on how the game goes. You have a good game one day and you think, I'm really good. Like I'm finally turning a corner. Like I'm a good player. And then you have a bad game the next day and you're like, oh man, I guess I'm not actually good. I'm I'm not as good as I thought. I still suck or whatever. Um, and you expect immediate results. When you have a results driven mindset, all you can think about is, what did I do today in the game? How, did I do well or did I do bad? And that's all you can think about. When you make a new change, you try to, practice something, you expect it to pay off immediately. When in reality, making changes and improvements takes months, if not years. Um, Player with results driven mindset is afraid of failure, or maybe they get embarrassed from failure, but they definitely don't see failure as a learning opportunity. um, and I think that's a big one, and it's hard too, right? Like, I think it's human nature to be afraid of failure, to not want to fail. None of us want to fail at anything we do, but again, you need to understand that failure is a big part of this game, and that it's an opportunity to learn from your mistakes or from your failures and use that to get better. Um, let's see. A player with a results driven mindset gets jealous of teammates' success. Okay, so that's kind of what we were talking about before. If you have a results driven mindset and all you care about is having a good game each and every day, and maybe you have a bad game but your teammate has a great game, maybe you're going to get jealous of that guy. And I've felt that temptation too at times, and I think all of this is, it's kind of going against the way that we're programmed as human beings, right? Like, we all want the best things possible for ourselves, but I think you got to kind of reframe the way you look at it. So um, being a good teammate, being excited for your teammate's success, it goes such a long way. And if you guys haven't experienced it yet, you will at some point, when you have teammates who don't want you to succeed, or they get jealous of your success. And those are the type of players who can bring a whole team down. um, Player with the results driven mindset doesn't get excited for practice, and they make excuses when things don't go well, right? So again, like, you have a bad game. Oh, the umpire, his zone was terrible. Or that, why'd my shortstop boot that ground ball? That should have been an easy out. Or that pitcher just throws way too fast. Like, how am I supposed to hit that? You're looking for excuses to explain your failure. So that's the results driven mindset. And ultimately, a player with a results driven mindset is more likely to give up when things get hard. Okay. And that's really what it comes down to, because if you guys are in this for the long run, if you guys are trying to play, high school baseball, college baseball, professional baseball, you can't give up when things get hard, because things get hard a lot. Things are, this is extremely difficult. I know I keep kind of hammering home the same point here, but I really want you guys to understand, like, you have to push through failure and adversity and challenges. And from my experience, the best way to do that is by focusing on the process. Have the process driven mindset. Okay, so what does it actually look like to have, a process driven mindset? Well, first of all, I think your habits and your daily actions are the biggest factor of that. like I said, taking taking everything that you do seriously, from your sleep to your nutrition to your schoolwork to being open to coaching, to showing up to practice on time, to putting in extra time in the weight room, to looking on the internet for ways to get better and improve, to watching major league games and trying to learn something from them. All these things that are your daily habits that, you're just stacking these things on top of each other that, it, you know, in one individual day, it may not make that much of a difference, but over the course of years, that's exactly what helps you develop and become a better baseball player. Um, and um, Oh, so also another part of that, which, and maybe this is a little more advanced for you guys, but always be trying to look for your edge, your personal edge. So um, there's a quote that I really like that says, "If you do what everybody else does, you're going to get the results that everybody else gets." Um, so what that means is that if you just kind of do the bare minimum, or you do the same thing as everybody else, you're probably going to be average, right? Most people are average. Most baseball players, over the course of several teams or years, are average. So you have to find something that is a little different. And, when I was maybe a little bit older than you guys. By the way, I didn't start taking baseball seriously until I was a sophomore in high school. So just to kind of frame that, like, you guys have the opportunity to be way ahead of where I was at your age, but looking for, your what can you do that is, different than what other people are doing. And maybe that is, a certain drill where you're working on, fielding ground balls, or using some sort of training tool that is maybe a little quirky, but you think it's going to help. Or, maybe it's probably not for you guys, but as an older player, maybe it's, trying a new diet that you think is going to help you feel better, or perform differently. It's all these things that you have to do something different than everyone else, otherwise you're just going to kind of fall into that average middle ground. Okay, so I call that looking for an edge. um, and then finally, having a process driven mindset should become a team culture. And it seems like you guys have a really good group of players and coaches who care about you and want you guys to succeed. And it seems like a lot of you guys want to succeed. And um, doing this whole thing alone is nearly impossible. And you guys will go through phases in life, just like everything. People come into your life and they leave. Like, that's how life is. You have different seasons of life, but whatever season you're in, whatever team you're a part of, you need to find at least a small group of players, but ideally an entire team who is really bought into this process driven mindset. And then you guys go at it together, and you're building each other up. You're helping each other get better. You're pushing each other. And that's the kind of culture that is what makes great teams great. So, um, I know that was a lot. That was kind of the slideshow presentation that I put together. That's all I've got. But um, again, process driven mindset over results driven mindset. Stack these small improvements on each other every single day for years and years on end. And I guarantee you guys will get the absolute most out of yourselves as a baseball player. And that's what it's really about, which, so that brings up another thought is everyone wants to be a major league player, but what you should really be trying to do is become the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. Because if you don't make it to the major leagues, but you can look yourself in the mirror at the time that, whenever your career is over, whether that's at the end of high school, or, maybe you'll be 35, 40 years old when you're still playing baseball. Eventually everyone's career is going to come over, going to be over eventually. But if you can look in the mirror and tell yourself that you did everything in your power to become the best baseball player that you can be, then you'll have no regrets. And I think you guys will end up, taking baseball a lot further than you ever imagined. So I know that was a lot. That's kind of my little spiel, and now we can just kind of, you know, talk whatever questions you guys have and open it up for discussion.
So Ben, we'll start with questions, but there are a few things that you hit on that I'm happy you hit on because there's a few things that we have done as a team. So last year we purchased the book called Win the Next Pitch
Oh,
for all the boys, and we often talk about the mental aspect of baseball. We often will ask, "Okay, who's your favorite player?" And oftentimes Trout comes up. We'll explain to them that a Hall of Fame batting percentage in the MLBs is hitting 300, which means to be a Hall of Famer, you're failing 7 out of 10 times.
mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
we like to hit on that, and I'm glad that you did because we always say that the hardest part about baseball is the mental aspect. It's not the physical aspect.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and the other thing that you hit on too that I wanted to talk about, um, I'm always very cognizant. I'm talking about we versus I because obviously baseball is a team sport, although it takes a lot of individualism during the course of the game, but you can't win with one player on the field. It takes nine.
Yeah.
So to start off the questions, um, I would like to know what your opinion of characteristics of a good teammate would be, and if you have any experiences, who would you think that your best teammate was and why?
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, as far as characteristics of a good teammate, I think of someone who is is my biggest fan. Like I feel like they are just as invested in my success and care about my success as much as they care about their own, right? Like, if you have a team full of guys who are truly pulling for each other and want the best for every other teammate on the team, that's going to be a really good culture. But I also think accountability is a really big one too. And that's kind of the hard part is holding your teammates accountable to all these certain things, whether it's, working hard at practice or not, staying up till 3 a.m. the night before a big game, all these things that matter. And you need everybody on the team to buy into it. Sometimes there's going to be guys who don't, and yeah, you need the teammate who's gonna hold you accountable and tell you like, hey, I thought you wanted to, be the best player you could be. This isn't helping you achieve that goal. Um, Man, as far as teammates, I've had a lot of good teammates over the years. One that comes to mind right off the bat is Eric Kratz. He's a longtime catcher, played for like 10 different big league teams, but he played till he was past 40, which is extremely rare. And I think a large part of that is because of how good of a teammate he was. But I think he kind of embodied, both of those things. Like he had a way of holding you accountable and helping you get the best out of yourself while also like being your biggest fan and just being like a fun guy to be around. Like it was the perfect balance of, being loose, having fun, laughing, but still like we expect the best out of each other. So yeah, I think those are some qualities of a good teammate.
Thank you. So I know we had one hand raised over here. Mr. Torres, if you want to take yourself off mute, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask who was like your favorite opponent either you went up against or you pitched against?
Ooh, favorite opponent. Um, well, my in my rookie year in 2016, I faced I faced the Dodgers, and
Mm.
that was when Corey Seager was a rookie, and I actually struck him out. That was
Oh,
probably
wow.
my most memorable strikeout. It was my first strikeout of, striking out a really, really good hitter. So that was one I'll never forget. And when I was with the Yankees, I always just really enjoyed facing the Red Sox, kind of the rivalry. And we were both, good teams for a while there. So yeah, it was fun.
Thank you.
All right, so we had some team questions, and guys, we'll get to everyone here that has your questions, so don't worry, we won't skip you. Instead of us asking, we'll go ahead and put everyone on the spot that sent us questions. So I can see Colin, you're there if you want to unmute yourself, and if you want to ask the questions you had, go ahead.
When did you start implementing the process and how has it helped you over your career?
Yeah, so um sophomore year of high school is when I really started to actually get serious about baseball. And I was really lucky because my family, we moved into a new house when at like my freshman year of high school, and my dad actually built a batting cage in my basement. So I had a huge advantage. And I know that's not realistic for anybody, for the most part, but that I started going in, I would hit every day, I would throw every day of, basically then I played other sports up till freshman year. I played football, swimming, did some other stuff, but my sophomore year, I quit every other sport, only focused on baseball. And, as soon as the last game was over in August, I would be in the batting cage, hitting, throwing, working out every single day of the off season until baseball season came back around in March. And yeah, I mean, like I said, it helped me because it was just adding up all these small little, improvements over the course of a long time. And my sophomore year, I wasn't really that good. By my junior year, I definitely started to see some improvements, but I still wasn't that good. And then, my senior year, I got a little better, but I still wasn't even good enough to go to a Division I university. So, it's not like I just went from, you know, terrible to being MLB caliber as soon as I started to do it. Like you actually have to put in the work every single day for, a long, long time.
So Colin, I know you had another question. If you don't remember, I can ask it for you.
With the pitch clock, how has that helped you or hurt you?
I think for me personally, it's helped me because you don't really have time to overthink, overthink or get emotional about what just happened. And that I think that probably kind of ties into your, win the next pitch mentality, which is the most important pitch that you're going to throw or the most important at bat that you're going to have is the next one, right? You just have to be really good at turning the page very quickly. Like throw a terrible pitch. Okay, I have 12 seconds before I have to throw another pitch. So I have no time to be mad at myself or to think about how crappy of a pitch that was. Like my as soon as as soon as I get the ball back and the timer for that next pitch starts, my thought process is on all these positive thoughts that are going to help me get into the best mental state in order to throw the best pitch that I possibly can.
All right, so I know we have a hand raised over here. It says Luke and Will. If you want to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question.
What was your favorite team and head coach that you had?
Ooh, um, hmm. I had a really good experience in college. My college head coach, and the reason that, and so let me put it this way: he wasn't the best, I guess, teacher of baseball. Like I've had a lot of coaches who know more than him about, pitching mechanics what pitch to throw, or, teaching the actual physical skills of baseball. But what he did that made him my favorite is that I knew without a doubt that he loved me and cared about me so much. Like, I felt like I was his own son, and he wanted the absolute best for me, and I knew he would do anything he possibly could for me. And that's, to me, I think that's what a good coach is all about, is caring about your players, and trying to do everything you can to help them, not only in baseball but in life.
All right, Kyle, I know that you had a question. Do you want to go ahead and ask yours?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna change my question. So what I'm gonna ask now was how fast did you throw at 14 versus now?
14. 14, I was probably around, what is that, like freshman in high school or eighth grade?
Yeah, around
Uh,
the time.
okay. I would say I was probably topping out around like 70, if not maybe a little slower. Like, honestly, I didn't even really have access to a radar gun at that point. I'm kind of aging myself. That was before radar guns were super normal. But the first time I had access to a radar gun consistently was when I was a junior, so 16 years old. And I was like 78 to 80 at that point. And now I'm like mid to upper 90s. So yeah.
Hey, Eric, do you want to ask your questions? And I assume you got Connor there to your right.
Yeah, I got Connor as well. My question is, what kind of exercises can you kind of talk through for the boys' arm care on days off or
Mhm.
pregame, things that they should watch for just to help prevent injury?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different routines out there and specifics of exercises. But the big one is strengthening your shoulder. The shoulder is the most important part of the arm for a pitcher, and a lot of problems in the elbow kind of can stem from the shoulder. So I think, really, I don't know if, you want specific exercises, but I would say, try to find a program that is really just kind of hitting the shoulder from several different motions. Pretty much every motion that you can do with the shoulder, you should be trying to strengthen it in that way. And the shoulder is a joint that can move in a lot of different ways. So, it's going to be like, I'll say this, my personal arm care program. I do it 3 times a week, and it takes 20 minutes each time. Okay, so it's mostly shoulder exercise. I do some forearm exercises too. Um, and it's a program actually that's by Tread Athletics, and they posted it on their Instagram and probably other social channels completely for free. So I could actually try and find that and send you guys the link to it, because that would be a good place to start. It's pretty basic. All you need is some bands, like resistance bands, and it's a really good one, even for me still.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mhm.
Connor?
Um, did you always want to be a pitcher?
No, actually, I always kind of loved hitting more than pitching. I was just not I I'm just not that good at it. Like, I was okay. I was an okay high school hitter. And I maybe could have played like outfield in college, but I was way better at pitching. So I think, it kind of became clear that that was going to be the route to take if I wanted to play professionally. Um, so yeah.
Connor, didn't you say you had something of his and tell me that it's just a video and that your hair is not really pink?
Hmm? I have a baseball card of yours.
Oh yeah,
I think
cool.
it's a rookie.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
sick.
I know that you had said at the beginning that you didn't even know if there was a card out there with you or who had it, and I know that Connor
Yeah,
had mentioned that, so I thought kind of
that's
cool.
awesome. You must be a hardcore collector if you have one of me.
Um,
Nice.
Hey, Quinn, I know you had a question. Did you want to ask yours?
Yeah. So my question was, what would you do in the off season to get ready for like the baseball season?
Yeah. I mean, really, you can do as much or as little as you want. Like, well, I shouldn't say that. Like you should do a lot. You should do as much as you can, but it doesn't necessarily need to be anything fancy. It could be like go in your garage and hit 100 balls off a tee into a net every single day, or go throw. Have your dad build you a pitching mound out of plywood in your garage and throw into a net. Like just literally find a way to get the reps in. That's all that matters is getting the reps in, doing something every day to get better. And just developing the skill of baseball. You guys are probably a little too young to get like super into the lifting side of things. As you get older, that becomes super important to try and get, stronger and bigger. But for now, the biggest thing is just learning the skills of baseball, making contact with the bat to the ball, learning the feel of the pitch coming out of your fingers. And the only way to learn that stuff is by doing it every day.
Hey, it just says Nick, you're next. So Nick, I don't know. There's so many Nicks, whoever you are, you can unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your questions if you'd like.
Oh, sorry, I'm using my dad's Zoom account. So, at what age did it just like? I know you said you started getting serious as a sophomore. At what age did the game just click for you, and like the game just started feeling good, and it just felt like you were just like good at everything?
Well, it's so it's never just like clicked completely to where like it's easy all the time or I feel like I'm really good all the time. It was more I started to have these glimpses of games. Like I would have like one game where I would randomly strike out like 12 dudes, in 5 innings or whatever. And then the next game I would walk everybody again. And then, it kind of becomes a little more consistent. And so I think it's, once you see that glimpse of being really good and you know what you're capable of, that's kind of when it's like, oh, okay, like now let's go because I know what I'm capable of and I want to replicate that feeling again because there's not a better feeling than going out and dominating on the baseball field. But even today, even still to this day, it's not like I just roll out of bed and the game is easy and I dominate the game. Like I have plenty of bad games. Like I have, every year I have, a handful of absolute clunker outings that I wish I could, have a redo button. So it's I think it's just about like trying to make those good games as consistent as possible.
And I think Teddy also wanted to know, when you made your biggest jump too.
Yeah, so my junior to senior year was a big jump for sure. And so that would have been like about 2 years of consistently, doing stuff for baseball every day. So sophomore year, junior year, kind of doing all this stuff that I've been talking about. And by my senior year, that was when I really started to see some pretty serious improvement. My velocity was trending up. I also grew a lot. I went from being like 5'6" as a sophomore to being like 6'1" as a senior in high school. So I had a huge growth spurt. And that kind of, obviously that helps with the velocity, but I think it was all the practice too that helped me like, just get a better feel for commanding the ball and doing all those things.
Andrew, if you want to take yourself off mute and go ahead and ask your question.
What was the draft process like? Like, did you have a party or anything?
Yeah, actually, so here's another another low point in my career was so I was expecting to get drafted my junior year of college. You know, you're eligible to get drafted as a junior. Most players who are really good who go to college do get drafted as a junior. Um, so I had this whole draft party set up, or I just had family over really my junior year, and day one goes by, no phone calls about getting drafted. Day two goes by, no draft. Day three goes by, no draft. Didn't end up getting drafted at all my junior year. And at the time it was a huge disappointment because I kind of thought like, okay, well, that was my chance to get drafted and make it happen, and it didn't happen. So, but I did end up, my senior year, I had another chance, and kind of same deal. I was just with my family. And we were watching it, 22nd round came around, and I got a call from the scout for the Cleveland Indians at the time, and they told me they were taking me. And yeah, honestly, that was definitely one of the high points of my career. Just like it is a really cool feeling to get drafted and like basically be told that you're going to play professional baseball, even though it's just going to the minor leagues. You still have a long, long way to go to get to the big leagues, but just to get drafted at all was really cool, and have my family with me, so it was fun.
So guys, we're gonna try to get through one question for everyone first, and then we'll circle back. So it's coming up as Sarah. Whoever's under Sarah, if you have a question, go ahead and unmute yourself. All right, no question there. How about coming up from Samantha Dixon? Do you have a question?
Hi, thank you. I don't at the moment, but thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. We'll go next over to Veer. All right, nothing there. All right, Yanni, you can go ahead next.
My question was, how is it like going through the minor leagues?
It was a grind. It wasn't very glamorous at all. And I don't know if you guys have ever been to minor league games, but it's nothing like the big leagues, but you kind of always have that carrot dangling in front of you. If you play well enough, you can make it to the big leagues. But yeah, I mean, it kind of same thing with everything I've said, like a lot of failure, a lot of highs and lows, a lot of adversity along the way. I didn't even mention any of my injury struggles. I missed basically 4 years with injuries. Just last year was my first year back after injuries. Wanted to quit multiple times, but ended up deciding to stick with it because I knew if I got healthy, I could pitch in the big leagues again. Um, but yeah, I mean, the minor leagues is it's exciting, but it's a challenge for sure. But at the time, it was fun, and it was an adventure. I didn't want to be doing anything else. But now that I'm a little older and I have, tasted the big leagues, the minor leagues is even less enjoyable, but it's part of it.
Hey, Mitch, can I slide in real quick?
Yeah.
On the topic of minor leagues, when you got your first call up, what can you kind of give a little bit of how that went and what that feeling was like when you walked onto the MLB field for the first time?
Yeah, so it was a crazy, basically week of events. So 2016 trade deadline. And if you guys are Cubs fans, you'll probably be able to appreciate this a little bit. So, because that was the year the Cubs won it. But so I was with the Cleveland Indians. I was drafted by them, with them my whole career. I was 24 years old, I think, at the time. And on the trade deadline, I got a call. Hey Ben, you're getting traded to the New York Yankees. So I was like, what? Oh my gosh. That wasn't even a thought that ever crossed my mind. I was playing for the Columbus Clippers and playing with the same, group of guys who I'd been playing with in the minor leagues for the last 3 years. So got traded. It was the Andrew Miller trade too. So, Andrew Miller, I think, pitched for the Indians a lot in that World Series against the Cubs. But um, so got traded to the Yankees, and basically I went to AAA, and a week after going to AAA, I got a call from the manager after the game one night. It was, 12:30 at night, really late. And he called me and he said, Ben, you're going to the big leagues. And I thought he was joking at first. I said, Are you serious? And he was like, I would never joke about that. So he's like, you're going to be going to Boston in the morning. The team is in Boston playing the Red Sox. So this was at like 12:30 at night. Obviously couldn't sleep at all. My adrenaline was just going insane. My heart rate was through the roof. Got up at like 6 o'clock, got in this fancy car service. That was, my first taste of the big leagues. They had like this, decked out Cadillac or whatever, drive us from Scranton, Pennsylvania to the Boston Red Sox Fenway Park. Get into the clubhouse, and my locker. And keep in mind, I haven't met anybody on the New York Yankees. I've only been in the organization for a week. I didn't know anybody. But I get in, they bring my bag in, and my locker is right next to CC Sabathia. And I grew up a huge Brewers fan, so when he pitched for the Brewers for a year, and he was like my favorite player. So I sat down next to him, and he turned next to me like cool as can be. He's like, "Hey, what's up, man? I'm CC." I was like, "I know, I know who you are." And yeah, I mean, ended up, soon as I walked out onto the field at Fenway Park, it was all the things you imagine. You kind of just get goosebumps even thinking about it. But um, just going on a major league field is it's hard to describe how awesome it is, how satisfied, it's just such a culmination of all this hard work, and such a um validation, I guess, of, you know, what I've dedicated my life to. And yeah, so it was really special. And when I eventually got into a game, my first game that I actually pitched was at Yankee Stadium. Um, and the first thing I noticed when I was out on the field during the game was how bright the lights were. I made the mistake of looking up at the third deck. No minor league stadiums have the third deck, and the lights were just incredibly bright, shining in my eyes. And so tried to focus, just keep my eyes at field level. And then I threw the first pitch, and it was like, oh, okay, this is the same exact game I've always played. And ended up breaking Manny Machado's bat in that game. That was the final out of my debut inning, was broken bat ground out by Manny Machado. So it was pretty cool.
How intense is that Yankees Red Sox rivalry from a player perspective?
It definitely is. But honestly, I feel like the fans probably, buy into the rivalry a little more. Like, don't get me wrong, I think it's very intense, and each team wants to win badly. But I think, the players kind of just put on our blinders a little bit and just focus on the game rather than like all the, commotion that goes into, the fans and the sports talk shows and all that.
Moser family. Anybody from the Moser family have any questions? All right, we'll go over to Bradley or Patty, whoever's logged in.
I don't have any questions, but just thank you so much for this opportunity.
Come on, Bradley, have no questions?
No, I do not.
All right. Kat, do you have any questions?
Hi, thank you. Yeah. I do have a question. Um, so my son isn't living in my basement for the rest of my life. Can you actually make somewhat of a living in the minor leagues?
Well, um, it it depends on a lot of factors. If you're a top 10 round draft pick, then you're looking at a signing bonus upwards of six figures. So, you can make that can last for a while. If you're in my situation where you were a senior in college, which that just like completely eliminates any sort of leverage that you have to negotiate for a signing bonus. Um, and then like your actual minor league salary is not very good. Your initial contract, then you're kind of making peanuts. Although they did recently change the laws. There was some big lawsuit actually about it. And I got reimbursed some money from because they basically came out and decided that, or they like lawfully, claimed that minor league teams were not paying players minimum wage. The players were essentially making like $5 an hour when you like calculated how much time we were required. So the rules are changed now. So I think, it's at least like a livable wage. I think kind of like your lowest level of minor league players would be looking at, making probably around like 25 to 30K a year, which isn't a lot, but you can live on it, I guess, if you're, a 22-year-old with no obligations and all that.
Might be a little bit harder for Connor because, one time he told an ump that he was such a good kid that he donates half his money to charity, and when charity's not there, he gives it to Jasmine.
Well, yeah, you're gonna have to save up if you want to get by. But luckily my wife was a teacher while I was in the minor leagues, so she was kind of the breadwinner in the family, so we made it work.
Thank you.
Nicholas, do you have any questions? All right, we'll go to the next. Patrick Abraham. And we've got a few questions from some kids that weren't able to log on tonight too.
All right.
Craig, any questions? All right, we'll go back up top. Patrick, you have another question?
Yeah, I know how you touched on it like a few questions ago, but I would just like to know more on like how like the fans have like either affected or like just like kind of made it hard for you during pitching and like big moments or anything like that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the fans can definitely raise your adrenaline level, for better or for worse, I guess. But um, I think for me, it comes down to understanding how to channel that adrenaline into making better pitches. And maybe I'm sure you guys have all probably had a time where your adrenaline spiked, whether you came up to bat in a big situation or, maybe you just playing a game under the lights is like a cool thing that kind of gets the adrenaline going and anything like that. And you can kind of feel your body like doing a little different things, like you feel like you could run faster, throw harder, all these things. It's easy to let your body get out of control when that's the case. And it takes a lot of practice, and just, playing in that sort of environment in order to learn how to stay under control and actually use that adrenaline to like, you know, throw a harder pitch or to channel your focus a little more. Because if you can't control that energy levels, then your body's just going to go out of control and you're going to be, doing all these bad things like mechanically that are going to end up, hurting you more than helping you.
Thank you.
And Moser family, I know you had a question. It looks like he typed it. He might have been having trouble with the microphone, but he said, wondering if Ben thought it was over when he blew out his elbow and what rehab was like.
Yeah. Well, the first time I blew out my elbow, I didn't think it was over. 'Cause I was 27, I think, when I had Tommy John. And so I kind of knew, I could rehab through it, and I knew it was gonna be a long journey to get back, which it was. It was a lot of hard work. The rehab process is very challenging, probably the most challenging thing that I've ever done in my baseball career, because you don't you're not playing in the game, which is the fun part, right? Like you have to be 100% bought into the process of getting better, and that really tests you whether you're actually about the process or not, because it's easy to kind of lose your passion for going in and doing the same boring exercises every day. But when I had my second major elbow injury in 2021, I thought at that time that there was a good chance that maybe my career was over, and that led into some shoulder injuries, which um, yeah, there was definitely some times where I doubted if I was ever going to pitch again, but I still kind of always had that belief in myself that if I could get 100% healthy again, that I could pitch in the big leagues again, and that's kind of what kept me going.
So I'll ask a few questions for some of the kids that were unable to make it that give me questions. From Luke Keimer, what is some advice on how to get recruited?
My best advice on getting recruited is be so good that they can't ignore you. Be so good that they can't ignore you. In my opinion, that's the only way to get recruited. And maybe this is a hot take, but I think all the recruiting services and the travel ball, high school travel ball that's like, we're going to get you in front of all these college coaches. It's all eyewash, because if a player is good enough to play in college, they're going to get found at their local high school or their local travel ball team, whatever. Like your only focus and priority should be on becoming the best player that you can be. And if you're good enough, you will get found. And I mean, I'm exaggerating. Like there's obviously, you have to probably reach out to coaches and do this, but especially at your guys' age, I would not worry about getting recruited one bit. I would put all of your focus and energy into trying to become the best player that you can be, and coaches will find you, and the rest will kind of fall into place.
Thank you. From Nick Chi, who was the toughest hitter you faced?
Ooh, I faced Paul Goldschmidt this year. That was a tough at bat. He was taking a lot of close pitches. He was fouling off a lot of good pitches. He I ended up walking him. I made some pitches that I thought, he should have swung and missed at, but he didn't. You could just tell he was a veteran hitter who knew the strike zone. He kind of knew my plan of attack, and yeah, he was really good. But then I struck out Nolan Arenado the very next at bat, so that was kind of cool.
They're both Cardinals too, so you could hit them. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have another one. Let's see. From Dylan Blasco. He's got two questions. What was your motivation to keep working when times were tough?
Um, I mean, just the love of you know, I don't want to say the game. Like I love competing, but I really do just love the process. Like I'm obsessed with trying to get better and be the best player that I can be. And even when times are tough, I think I was always, you know, just trying to look for just keeping my head down, like looking for ways to get better. Like what's next? What do I need to do to get better, to get back on track? And I think also kind of having like that big vision of, pitching in the big leagues. Like you kind of have to have like a little bit of like a long-term vision or goal that you're trying to like work towards, and then all of your daily habits and actions just are, they kind of align to help you, accomplish that goal or work towards that goal. Because it's not even about accomplishing the goal, in my opinion. It's about working towards the goal and developing, and like the journey itself is like what it's all about for me.
His second question was, what did you like most about playing in the MLB?
Everything. One, well, so a couple really cool things about it are the food and the travel. Like, you're listen, I'm from small town Wisconsin. I'm not like a fancy person by any stretch of the imagination, but when you're in the big leagues, you're treated like actual royalty. Like the planes that you're traveling in, like the buses, the team will drive in a bus like from the team hotel to the stadium, and we'll have four like police officers on motorcycles, like police escorts, like zooming in and out of traffic, like stopping, cutting off traffic. Like, we're just like, there's no expense that is spared. Same with food, there's steak every single meal of the day. Like you're getting food from the best restaurants in whatever city that you go to. Like all these cool things that I'll never live like that once I'm done playing baseball, but I'm gonna enjoy every second while I am playing.
We'll come back. Luke and Will, you have another question?
So since CC was your favorite pitcher, who was your favorite hitter growing up?
Oh, Prince Fielder. That's an easy one. He was fun to watch, and that was just kind of, my team at the time was the Brewers, and Prince Fielder, he had a pretty good stretch there where he was just swinging out of his shoes, just hitting absolute moonshots. So, and I actually I got a chance to meet him at CC's retirement party. It was kind of crazy. That was probably one of the coolest things that I've ever gotten to do because of the big leagues. I was teammates with CC the year that he retired, and so everyone on the team got to go to his retirement party, and he invited a bunch of his past teammates there. So I got to meet Prince Fielder there, and I told him like, "Hey, you were my favorite player when I was growing up. It's cool to meet you." And he's like, "Oh, that's awesome, man. I love playing for the Brewers. Like that's, you're making me feel good hearing that." So yeah, pretty cool thing to meet him.
So an inside question. Did everyone pitch in to help reimburse CC for him losing out on that bonus for missing the innings pitched?
Oh man, I think he has enough money without that bonus, but um no, I'm sure, well, that just kind of shows what kind of teammate he is, like he probably knew that he had that bonus on the line, but he didn't care because he wanted to send a message for protecting his teammates or whatever.
So guys, for anybody that doesn't know, CC Sabathia had in his contract that if he pitched a certain amount of innings, he got a $500,000 bonus. And during that game, there was some intentional thrown at by pitchers at batters, not started really by the Yankees. But CC was defending his teammate, and everybody knows he threw at the batter, and because he did, he got tossed and didn't get that. So that goes to show, we talk about all the time, have each other's back each other up. That's a prime example of it still happens in the major leagues, and guys don't play and win together without doing it.
Absolutely.
Andrew, did you have another question?
Yeah. Did you ever get to have an at bat before they changed the DH rules?
No, and that's one of my biggest disappointments of my career because I really would have liked to get an at bat in the big leagues. You better believe I would have been swinging for the fences too, but no, unfortunately, never got an at bat.
Actually, I have another question. Where's Shohei Ohtani signing?
Ooh, Cubs? I don't know.
Good answer.
Yeah, we'll see. Should be fun wherever he ends up.
Looks like we have a question in the chat From a pitcher's perspective, how should batters watch the ball off the pitcher's hand to read the pitch best? Camden.
Can you read that again?
Sure. From a pitcher's perspective, how should the batters watch the ball off the pitcher's hand to read the pitch best? Basically, the question would be, what are they paying attention to as a hitter
Yeah.
to try to read, the pitch coming?
Yeah. I think really good hitters have a plan of they're looking for one pitch in one spot. They're looking for a fastball out over the plate, or they're looking for a slider, a hanging slider like middle up, and they don't deviate from that plan. So I think however you can make as a pitcher, trying to make every pitch or make a pitch look like it's going to be the pitch that they're looking for, but then it ends up being something different. So there's kind of like a concept called pitch tunneling. So like if a fastball is coming in at this angle and then a curveball might kind of go up and then come down. So it's like you kind of have to think about like, do the pitches look like each other? So like my fastball and slider will look the same, and then the slider will go this way and the fastball will go this way at the end. So I think from a pitcher's perspective, you want to try and throw the pitch that the hitter isn't looking for. Well, you want to make it look like it's the pitch that they're looking for, but then it ends up being something else, if that makes sense.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What was it like your first time pitching in Milwaukee, the stadium that you always came to as a kid?
Yeah, it was super special. That was just this year actually that I got to do it, pitching for the Braves, and I think it's probably the highlight of my career, honestly. I pitched in two out of three games. It was a 3-game series. The first game I threw the seventh inning. I think we were up by 1 run. I got a hold, and then I pitched in the last game of the series. I threw the eighth inning. We were up by 2. I got another hold, scoreless innings both times. Had a ton of family and friends in attendance, and that was one moment where I definitely tried to stop and smell the roses, kind of soak it all in, because I grew up going to that ballpark all the time, and yeah, it was really special.
Well, we'll circle back. Anyone else have any questions? Bradley, think of anything, or anyone else have any other questions? All right. So, guys, for everyone that's still here, we tell you all the time, anybody, we honestly believe that any of you can be a professional baseball player. It all comes down to who's going to put in the work and who's going to want it most. Ben's an example right here. I know that everyone idolizes professional baseball players. I mean, Ben's it right here, and he looks just like us. So there's no reason why none of you can't make it if that's truly what you want to do and you want to put in the work.
Yeah. If I can do it, you guys can do it. Like I said, I was as average as it gets. All it takes, I mean, I shouldn't say all it takes. What it takes is years and years of focused hard work, with a goal in mind, working towards that goal.
All right, last call. Any other questions? All right, Ben. Well, we very much appreciate all your time and talking to all of us for this experience. And I actually have one more question for you. Any idea on what uniform you're going to be wearing next year?
Yeah, actually, I just signed today, actually, earlier today, with the Pittsburgh Pirates. So I'll be, well, it's a minor league deal. So hopefully I'll make the team out of spring training, but otherwise, potentially to some time in AAA, some time in the big leagues, but hopefully mostly in the big leagues. And yeah, be making some trips to Chicago if that's the case.
That's awesome. Congratulations. And,
Thank you.
good luck playing at PNC Park. And, hopefully all of us here get the opportunity to see you, play in person too,
Yeah.
when you make it up here and you're in Chicago.
Yeah, appreciate it. Let me know if you guys end up ever coming to a game or something. I can meet you in person.
That'd be fantastic. So guys, you ever go to a game against the Pirates, shoot one of your coaches a text, and we'll make sure that we can try to get you in contact.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for listening to me, guys, and best of luck. If you ever want to reach out to me personally, feel free to message me on like Twitter or Instagram or whatever. So yeah.
Sounds good. Well, thanks again, Ben, and I know we'll be in touch soon.
Yeah, sounds good, guys.
All right,
Have a good
take
night.
care. You too.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank-
very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay.